Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Vivid Earth. Today, I've got Paula Davis back with me. It took us a while to reconnect, but we definitely needed to do a part two to our conversation we had, gosh, maybe 2, 3 months ago. I lose track of time. Time is moving so quickly, but I'm so excited to have Paula Davis back to talk about a few very exciting subjects. How are you, Paula?
I am really well. I'm so very grateful to be spending time with you and your listeners again today. That's wonderful. And so happy to share information and learn information too. I learned so much from you. So it's always a great co-creation between us, I feel like.
Yeah, and we just had like a 30-minute chat. I can't believe, like I said, we should have recorded because we were discussing some awesome things, but we will definitely touch on some of it again. But we had a great catch up just now. So the last time we chatted, we never got to speak about Telos and all of the wonderful work and the book that you've written about it.
Hmm.
And because we had so many wonderful conversations. So today I thought we can dive deeper into Telos, which is obviously the inner earth civilization found in Northern California, and perhaps how that links up with other inner earth civilizations like, Agartha and Shambala. So we're going to touch on a few things regarding that. And Paula can, of course, I think it would be great to reference some elements within her book that she's written, fully sort of just almost like a channeled book, which is marvelous. So maybe touch on that first and tell us kind of what forms the content of that book. Is it just tell us? Are there other things that come to light in this book? And then maybe dive right into, what is Telos, how it connects to the other civilizations.
Yeah, really good. So thank you for asking that question. And my journey to discovering Telos, I would say, is I don't know that it's typical of other people's journey. What I can tell you is that my book, it's titled We the People of the Land That Used to Be, and then it's Telos Revealed. So it has a long title. But as you can tell from the title, it's We the People, so it's very United States oriented. And then Telos is, of course, as you stated, a city that is beneath Mount Shasta, that is a mix of third and fifth dimensional people that are survivors and continuation of a civilization of Lemuria 12,000 years ago. So when their civilization was coming to an end, just like just like us today, we're getting intuitive messages like, oh, I don't know how many shows I see where the headline is psychic reveals dramatic occurrences on Earth. The whole system is coming to an end. I don't know if you've been seeing that,
Yeah.
but it's kind of everywhere, right? Seeing it, and they're saying it in different ways. Like I'm hearing the overlay on top of this one is going to be lifting, or I'll hear it like there is a second earth that is going to be placed next to this one and will
Yeah.
be divided between the two. And la 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 la. I'm hearing all kinds of different ways, but essentially down to the core, you're getting intuitive people that are all kind of getting the same message of things are kind of coming to the end. Knowing that things happen cyclically, I know that there were intuitive people from Lemuria that were getting the same downloads. They're like, oh, la, 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 la. And the spiritually minded Lemurians, this class of people, the ones, like we're kind of coming into being a class of people of spiritually minded, we're getting the message that, oh my gosh, we better figure something out. And then the greater network of Agartha in Inner Earth, which was already established, already fortified with 120 civilizations that had gone into Inner Earth for the same reasons. Their civilization had either evolved to a point where they could go to inner earth for a more high quality life, or their civilization had fallen apart, and certain people were getting the intuitive message to, hey, come on in, right? Did everybody get the message? No, right? Just the ones that were invited. So before that happened, they were carving out an area under Mount Shasta that was already a little bit prepared. It was already prepared by another civilization that had lived in Mount Shasta thousands and thousands of years before, but then evolved out of that into the bigger universe, right? So they were coming into a partially carved out area in Mount Shasta. Then they went in before the calamity, prepared housing, temple, um, hydroponic food systems, homes that were in harmony with the Agartha standards of spiritual living. And they had to make an agreement that they were going to live in harmony with the fellow 120 civilizations in Agartha. Okay.
120. Wow.
The more than 120. And the on the Atlantis side, they were getting the same thing, the
Mm.
spiritually minded ones, you know. And so they were building their own part of inner earth, right? We we don't hear about them as much because it feels like the Telosians are going to be the ones who are going to help us integrate. They're the ones who have chosen to help us integrate. I think our mindset, and maybe a lot of us have that Lemurian background, so we can connect more directly with that past life than maybe
Mm.
the Atlanteans, but maybe some people are also, going that way as well. But focusing on Telos. So, what they're telling us is, hey, your civilization is coming into an impasse where it's going to go through a big shift. We're going to give intuitive messages to you about a part of the inner earth that is going to be reserved for you and your unique culture. Because in Agartha, everybody keeps their unique culture. Nobody, like, they're not the oneness of everybody thinks the same way or eats the same way or dresses the same way. They keep the essence of their culture, which, is important. I don't want to become a Telosian because I'm not a Telosian. I don't, that's not, I am, human surface this era. And I want to keep that core part of me. So, how did I come into knowing this information? Because I've got a background in political science. I'll tell you my original thought back, and I'm going to date myself, 1990s. I think we shared this before. I'm going into college and I'm like, what do I want to major in? And I'm looking at I like politics, I like learning. I had a class with this young professor, super young. He was so eager beaver. He's one of those eager beaver excited ones. I love political science kind of guy. And he's like, political science is the study of power. And I was like, ooh, I want to learn more about power. And, but deeper than that, I thought, as I started taking more courses, I was like, yeah, this is a great time to major in political science because the Berlin Wall is falling down. I think I shared with you the apartheid system was falling apart. All of my professors at the University of Minnesota were writing their own textbooks and sending them to other universities. They were very high level people. My professor was going to help Nelson Mandela, part of the board to free him, right? I think we talked about how that's kind of shenanigany.
Mm.
which we'll talk about that because this is something new I have to offer, which is something I've gained recently. Um, so in my mind, from a very practical perspective, I don't know anything about spirituality. And even if somebody mentioned it to me, I would have nothing to do. I wouldn't I wouldn't have an opinion one way or the other. Like some people are against it. Like I don't care about it enough to be against it. That's how non-event it is, right? Never heard of mediumship. I'm pretty much an agnostic. University of Minnesota, they're very traditional academic agnostic. They're Darwinian, anti-God. They think religion is, la la la. So I was very much of that mindset, but I was really excited about humanity. I can help humanity by creating, now we've got computers. We can create great policy models and implement them, and we can see how they play out 50 years down the road. We didn't have that in the 1980s or 70s. We were just coming in. I was playing with that in school, these programs where I could do that. And I was playing with models. And I'm like, oh, this is so exciting. And then I became an intern at the University of Minnesota. And I got into the politics. And I'm like, oh, this is horrible. These people are not on board with what my mindset is at all. And I was coming to an age where I was like, okay, I'm kind of interested in getting married and having children. So did that whole suburban life. And then in the interim, I was working for as a um, like a manager to help certain people get elected that I felt would be good, but they could never get elected because they were so, they're just such an underdog. Um, Worked for the Obama campaign just as a volunteer, but I was invited to his inauguration, got photos from the family, all of that. It was at that point in 2008, I'm like, this Obama thing is the bomb. I volunteered to be part of the neighborhood program where, we're going to really take care of our neighborhoods, and that's going to take care of our communities and our nation. Start at the beginning. As soon as he got elected in, he cut the neighborhood programs. That's gone. As soon as the banking crisis occurred, he promised change. Then he said, oh, this is too big to change. We're not going to change a damn thing. We're going to give money to the banks and take houses away from the people. I said, you little. So I'm like, okay, I see now where even when somebody gets in where you feel like there's promise, the system is really running everything. There is no human being that can come in and create quote unquote change.
Mm.
So, um, even with what we see today, it's still business as usual of financial systems running everything, right? So, even with, crosswords and dramatic displays and F this, it's still the same game being played. So people are very easily manipulated, thinking there's a difference. Okay, so that happened. Then I just dropped out. I'm like, forget it. I just sort of like released everything I believed that was true about life, about politics, about everything. But I didn't search for anything either. I'm just like, I'm focusing on my kids. Like, I'm going to get them what they need. I'm going to make sure my family is stable. And then in 2012, I had a spiritually transformative experience. And this is the words. It said, I won't explain the whole thing, but I said, what the hell's going on? Like, we're in decline. In 2012, I'm like looking at my policy models like a geek. I'm like, I'm looking at we're in decline, even though the GDP, the gross national product, is going up. Humanity is declining in health, well-being, mental well-being, job security, savings, retirement is all in the shitter. But GDP is going up. So I'm like, where's the spread? Who's getting the spread in there? Not us, not the average person. And I said, well, what the heck is going on? What's going on with that? And I had no answer this time. I didn't have any academic answer. And then a voice came to me, this gentleman, like a voice in my head. Oops.
Sorry, I don't know what's going on with my
Oh, that's okay.
external camera. Um, Suddenly it's just disappeared as an option.
Oh,
It's
there's
plugged
nothing
in.
random in the world.
I'm gonna have to switch to my computer camera, so it's gonna be a little bit fuzzy. So, but anyway, that's
No, no worries.
sorry, I'm a
Um,
very fuzzy now. I don't know what happened. Having all sorts of technical issues lately. Anyway, sorry to interrupt.
Technical and energy. Um, so then I heard this very strong man's voice in my head, in my ear say, Paula, if you don't stop what you're doing, you won't get the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. And I was like, what? Like, this makes no sense, right? I had an out of body experience. And then the next morning, I downloaded a very specific poem, which was odd because I don't like poetry. It had something to do with fairies. I don't have anything to do with fairies or fairy tales. And I'm like, this is odd. I didn't know what was going on. So that sent me on a trajectory of a spiritually transformative experience and the journey that goes with it. But then in 2022, lots of experiences happening in between, healing, la, 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 a lot of stuff. But in 2022, I was sitting in meditation. All of a sudden, that man's voice comes in again. And he's like, Paula, hey, there is a civilization in inner earth called Telos. Look to this material from like Diane Robbins to learn more about it. And I'm like, okay. And then he also said, look, there is disclosure coming. There was a congressional hearing in May of 2022. He pointed me to that. And he said, it's going to go off the rails in the next 3 and 5 years. And I'm like, it has nothing to do with me. I don't have anything to do with all that. Like, you
It's not
know,
convenient right now. Okay.
but yeah, 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 yeah. And he said, by the way, you're going to write a book. And it's one of those types of energies where you're compelled to do it. I think you had stated you've had those feelings where
Mm.
I have to do this and it doesn't really make a lot of sense. So I wrote the book, We the People of the Land That Used to Be Telos Revealed, which shows the journey of humanity from the era of Mesopotamia to now, how we got to where we are, and how we're going to bridge that gap into inner earth for some of us. It also says the first thing in the book that it says is the universe always knows what's going to happen. And for those that are in alignment can reap the benefits, and those that who are not will have to accept the consequences. Now, consequences, I don't really, to me, these people, they're going to just be rebirthed into more of this, which is going to evolve into a planet that doesn't have the flora and fauna it does today. It's going to be the result of the atomic bomb that we had in 1945. So, 1945, we had an atomic bomb. Everything is mental, there's no physical. So, when we let off the bomb, it was a mental experience first, which is we have the intention to blow up the world because part of the equation in the atomic bomb is there is a certain percentage that the entire atmosphere will ignite and it will entirely decimate the earth. They were willing to take that chance to blow up Japan. They're like, it's small, it probably won't happen, but what do we know about quantum physics? Whatever there is an opportunity for, there is a world that's created where that has happened, right? So there's our world where we see it just blew up Japan, major devastation, lots of nuclear damage. The steel that's in the earth today is compromised because of the nuclear damage. But really, there's a version of earth where it's decimated, right? Then there's this gestation period after the detonation of the bomb. We have the opportunity to come into ourselves, to become the natural human that we were always meant to be. To your point, there is this more natural human that we're meant to be in releasing all of our DNA codes and connecting all the things that have been disconnected to extending our telomeres so that we can live appropriate lifespans according to the natural human. And that's what they were telling me. This is the evolution of the natural human. So then there's those of us that are going to move into the natural human, which will come into the natural earth, which will be an inner earth that's more in harmony with a balanced mind. Meaning, we're not going to have the extremes of 100 below and then another area where it's 150 and no water. Our earth is a reflection of all of our collective minds, which is chaos on the surface. Inner earth, it's balanced at about, 70 degrees, lush, proper, everything. But people that pass, they will automatically be birthed back into what the Tibetans, because I've been studying the Tibetan Buddhism, samsara.
Mm.
They'll be birthed into the earth that was decimated. Now, looking at this from a very practical view, because there's all kinds of things you can say etherically, but unless I can take a chord and ground it into something we can understand, to me, it's just crap I'm saying. So, how can we ground this into something that's practical? Well, what planet that is very familiar to us that we're looking to populate looks like it's been decimated by a nuclear bomb?
Mars.
Mars, right? Who's trying to get us to Mars?
Elon.
Elon, our fine Dutch friend from South Africa, that has a history of, I'm guessing, generational slave ships that he might call as spaceships. Earth is going to go down in a fury. You have to leave now, very intelligent, educated engineers and hardworking people. Shh, don't tell anybody. I'll put you on a secret ship and you'll be spared. And then descendants from this experience will see that as familiar, like, oh, yeah, that's me. Out of So when you die and rebirth and you think that you're doing it with guardians and guides, according to the Tibetans, it's just part of your subconscious mind. And unless you recognize what's going on this side, you'll just grab out of freaking out in the death state, you'll just gravitate to what's familiar. Oh my God, I see my grandparents went to Mars. I'm going to rebirth into that family. That's familiar. Even if there might be generational wounds and drama, la la la. Familiar is always better than I don't understand this. I at least know how to negotiate trauma in my family. I don't know how to negotiate the bright light of freedom. That I don't
Humans
understand.
don't like change. They
They
fight
don't.
hard for the familiar. You have to
Nope.
surrender to go into the void because you don't have control. You don't know what to
You
expect.
don't. You don't know. Yeah. So when you see a near-death experience, that's not a death experience. It's a near-death experience. And the Tibetans lay out exactly the process. And generally, when people see that bright light of freedom, they get scared. It's like a chicken that comes out of a coop for the first time, like a baby chicken. It will not go into the light. It will not go outside. It'll run back into the coop. It will not. Uh,
But now,
the light
sorry,
is something you have to recognize here.
I wanted to ask you, sorry to interrupt, but there's been a lot of people going around lately saying, oh, when you die, you mustn't follow the light. That is a psyop that's just going to keep you in that loop of reincarnation. Uh,
Mhm.
and I don't
Most
know,
people
it
are never going
doesn't
to
really
see the light.
resonate with me, but I wanted your take on that since you're talking about it, which is
Yeah,
lovely.
well, I like to go by so in the Tibetan Buddhists, they have studied this for 2,500 years. This has been their main study. The Buddha himself, and I didn't know, and I'm not a Buddhist, I'm not a Tibetan Buddhist, but I can respect that they have studied this longer than anybody. The Buddha became the Buddha because not because he's some kind of religious icon, but rather he was like, I want to know what the hell's going on. Well, that's what I wanted to know. What the hell's going on? So he took the life experience starting from the death state and worked backwards. And how did he do that? Well, when you do the shamatha meditation and you're very committed to it, and that means many people go into meditation and they get loopy, right? Like, oh, I'm floating. This is great. And they're really not good for anything after that. Like, I just want to float in this state forever. Well, God bless you if you got the money to do it, that you can just sit there in a loopy zone. Shamatha meditation is not that. You're not allowed to go into loopy. You actually um, go into meditation with your eyes open. And when you relax your central nervous system enough, you see the gaps. Like our brains are moving so fast. We are filling in the gaps. So for example, if you're reading a paragraph, and let's say in that paragraph, some of the words are there and some of the words are not there, but the general context of and you just fill in the words yourself, don't you? The mind fills it
Stand over
in.
it and
Yeah,
every
you're
other
like,
word, and you
oh
build the
yeah.
story from.
There's supposed to be a the here and a free there, and there's supposed to be lost there, and you just fill in the gaps because
Even when
you are,
there's like spelling errors, your mind will correct it. So you won't even see the
yeah,
spelling error.
you don't even see the spelling error. Well, scientists do the same thing, and humanity does the same thing. When they're living in their reality, wherever there's a misstep or a gap and it doesn't fit the mind, they fill it in with what word they think should be there.
Mm-hmm.
There should be a misspelling. There should be a ball that bounces and levitates in the air for 30 seconds before it falls again. But your mind will not let you see that.
Mm.
Your brain will not allow it. It is an electronic switching machine. It's there to protect you, and it does not want to mess with your reality. So he said, I'm going to give up everything and I will sacrifice everything to understand what's going on. Part of it is the shamatha meditation, where you have your eyes open and eventually you get to the point. Now, mind you, this takes a lot, where you see the gaps and the BS that you're feeding yourself in
Mm-hmm.
between. And when you do that, you can see the gaps of what happens in the death state. You meditate into the death state and you see the stages. One of the stages is a white light, but it's not the clear light that I'm talking about. What it is there's the red that drops from the crown, which releases your aggression. Then from the reproductive organs. This is when you're in the near death state. Like your body is still closing the channels down. And there's a process to that. I won't bore you with it. But towards the end, after your see, hear, smell, taste, touch shuts down and goes into a central channel, the masculine part of you loses its aggression and it drops into the solar plexus. Then from your reproductive organs is the female version. It's the white light and it releases all passion, meaning I want to get a BMW and a house and I want to have a great love affair. All that drops. And it's at that point where you're in the NDE where you're like, I felt so much love. The love is the leaving the aggression behind, leaving the passions behind, and you're free.
Mm.
That's the near-death experience
Mm.
right
Makes
there.
sense.
And then there's an opportunity to move into the clear light where you're completely, there's no more you. You don't exist. There's no you.
Mm.
That doesn't mean you don't have a fulfilling experience, but there's no you. Most people jump over it because they can't accept the fact that there's no me. So then they move into what's called the 52 wrathful deities and the 48 peaceful deities, where you have a mix of, I'm having a life review. Well, that's kind of a negative deity because they're going to bring up things that you did wrong.
Mm.
That's going to get you rebirthed, you know? I mean, this is still part of the near-death experience. Then there's the peaceful deities showing you all the good things you did and what a wonderful person you are and your unconditional love. Then you're going to have a wrathful deity of maybe seeing a past life where you were killed with an arrow. That's all the peace. You've already missed the clear light. In the peaceful, wrathful deities, what the Tibetans say is that it's all your deep subconscious mind with all of your past lives coming in and flooding you with information. And at that point, you can still recognize this is the shamatha. Just stare at it with equanimity, have no judgment. Because
Mm-hmm.
as soon as you start identifying with, oh my gosh, I was shot in the back and I got to go get that guy that shot me in the back, you're going to rebirth into your sister and become your nephew. Does that make sense? And you're like,
Mm.
oh my God, I remember I was shot in the back and here's the guy that did it.
Mm.
That's how you rebirth. It's your own karma. Karma is just your bad habit.
Mm.
Karma is your own bad habit or your own good habit. I see it with equanimity. I don't feel a need to go back and correct that. I'm going to go on to what's called a pure land. What's a pure land? Shambala, Agartha, Telos. You're no longer in the rebirth cycle. You're no longer in the rebirth cycle. Can you be rebirthed somewhere and be very wealthy and um, be isolated from drama of people's poverty? Sure, but you're still stuck. You're still
Mm.
stuck.
Yeah.
You're still stuck in the karma of it. So, is that helpful? So, when you're birthed into Talos, and it doesn't matter if you can be birthed into Talos before you die, because I'll go into why there is no death. I mean, people say that all the time, but
Mm.
I mean, I'm going to put a practical lens on it. So, does that help ground things in a practical way?
Yeah, that's very interesting, what you just said. Funny enough, I had this idea lately that our spirit guides are actually just different versions of ourselves, more evolved versions of ourselves that are giving us advice.
Well, if you look at the clear light where there is no you, then you are everyone and everyone is you.
That's true too.
So, but that's right view. Generally, when we're in that near-death experience, I never hear of a near-death experiencer saying, I was not me. I was still me and I had all my memories.
Yeah.
That's the
And
first thing
I,
they say.
went through the whole past, life review and this and that, and everything
And
was
I, and
peaceful.
I.
And I decided to come back because I had a mission to fulfill. But
Yeah, 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 yeah.
that's you're just a character. This is just a character. It's not, you know, my soul.
Samsara, samsara is not something you can fix without consciously rebirthing in, okay, samsara, or this experience is samsara. Telos is out of samsara. It's called a pure land.
Mm.
You're no longer bound by your karmic habits. That person's going to come back in, and what's the first thing that they are? I had a mission to fulfill. but I spent the first 3 years completely depressed and unable to do anything.
Mm.
Right? It's like, oh, really? You had a mission to fulfill, and now you wish you could go back there? Well, what you wish you could have gone back to, which you can do here, is you wanted to really, you loved the feeling of releasing your aggression and passion. That was that wonderful release feeling.
Mm.
That's that was you letting go of your aggressions and your passion. You
Mm.
had a choice to see the clear light. You didn't recognize it. It like passed right through it.
Yeah.
Didn't even see it because you're not in harmony with it. And then you went to the guides, right? And they told you all this stuff and you listened. And all the wisdom that you received, you thought was your guide,
Yeah.
Jesus. It's you.
Mm.
It's your subconscious mind, but it will come to you in the only way that you can receive it because you're manipulating yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're reincarnating in the near-death experience when you do that.
Yeah.
You're rebirthing. It's the same thing as there's no different than you actually dying and rebirthing into a baby. You would do the same thing.
Mm.
It's just you just rebirth into this body instead of a baby.
Yeah. And that's why, beings like Buddha, they didn't come back supposedly when they reached enlightenment. It's like, okay, I learned everything I needed to learn. I've seen the whole samsara game and
Yeah.
I'm done now. And apparently went through 69 levels of basically until he reached enlightenment. Um,
Yeah.
so
But
that's
then
very
brought it
interesting.
back to us where we can kind of, but yeah, I mean, there's me telling the version, but then there's the experiencing it, which is a way different thing. And then, a lot of those Dalai Lamas and stuff, they consciously rebirth to come in to help. And they're also protecting Shambhala at the same time. They kind of do both or whatever. So that's how,
Except for the
um,
latest Dalai Lama, which has apparently been on the CIA payroll since 1974 or something.
oh, really? Well, everything will go into chaos in samsara. It's the nature of samsara.
Mm.
One thing I heard was at
Please keep
some
talking. I'm
point
just putting
people
on a
give up.
light.
Oh,
Keep going.
yeah.
Sorry, I didn't want to break you. I just wanted to put a light on because things are
Yeah,
getting
no worries. You are, yeah, is it getting dark there?
it's getting
Is it?
dark now, and with my external camera not working and neither the microphone, they're just not even options anymore when I look into
Yeah.
Zoom.
Well, you still look
Gone. Normally I
fabulous.
can see them in the list and I select them. Disappeared. So sorry, I'm going to be fuzzy for the rest of the call.
Yeah, no worries, no worries. But this is kind of our introduction into Tibetan Buddhism, isn't it? And then we're kind of connecting that back into the Nazi thing. Like, how is Tibetan Buddhism and Nazi connected?
Yeah.
Um, so just kind of like putting a cap on the Telos thing. That's how Telos came to be. That's generally Agartha.
Mm. I just want to say for those that might be confused with that statement, so not that they are connected, it's more like the Nazis were obsessed with Buddhism and the
Well,
practices, and actually got their
that's how.
symbol also from Buddhism. I mean, the
Yeah,
Nazi symbol comes
yeah.
from Buddhism. People
Well, it's
forget.
actually a Hindu symbol.
Hindu.
They took a Hindu symbol and made it their own, right? And so the Tibetan Buddhists have been around for thousands of years. They're not new game on the town. They're, around before Jesus stuff. And they're not a religion. They're an
Yeah.
explanation of reality.
Yeah.
They're also very highly analytical and 5 steps to this and 7 steps to that and a lot of la la la. And I can't get into it, but I love the studies that they've done,
Yeah.
right? And highly analytical, very smart people tend to be Tibetan Buddhists. Like I find analytical engineers because they love the nitty-gritty of things.
Yeah,
And
the
Tibetan roots get into
precision
the
of everything. It
nitty-gritty.
must be like this, must be like that. Well, my
Yeah, yeah,
husband
yeah.
is following Buddhism, and he does Buddhist meditation, and he's very like, no, 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 there can't be anything else. It's like this. I'm like, but there's that and there's that, and I integrate it
Yeah.
all. I integrate
Yeah.
all of these philosophies and make it
Me
my own.
too.
But he's like,
Me
no, no,
too.
this is how it is. Like,
Yeah, yeah. I know. I know. But then you'll get into different schools of Buddhism because there's several and
yeah.
they're all kind of doing their own gig. But
And I
Tibetan
also
Buddhism,
think there are those that got infiltrated by the CCP, by the way.
oh,
So
for
we have to
sure.
understand there are those that are those branches that are became very disempowering. And you
Yeah,
travel the east and you see people begging at golden statues for things, and it's like, I
exactly.
don't think that's what Buddha wanted. Hello, that's not what he meant.
It's the nature of samsara to take anything and
To
there's the morphic
disempower and follow
resonance.
something outside of you
Yeah.
instead of realizing you have everything.
There's an energy, it's like it sees a certain level of influence and power around an area, no matter what it is. Science, religion, Buddhism, doesn't matter. And there's this energy of samsara that will come in and contaminate the brains of the people.
Mm.
So I'm always cautious of anybody who's getting a little bit too much power or following. There's that nature of samsara to come in on that. And I'm
It
always
catches
like,
you without you even knowing.
without you knowing it.
And that's
Yeah.
where a lot of the what I call the spiritual ego thing comes in.
Yes.
Spiritual leaders with large following, they don't even
Mhm.
realize that it's creeping in. And
They
it's
don't know
quite
it.
dangerous.
No.
It's really dangerous.
They'd never know it because you have to understand that it's the nature of samsara.
Yeah.
Eventually, this dimension of experience will be quarantined off once it's all played out, but not yet. So understand that you have to overcome samsara yourself. I would not engage in how can I become powerful and mighty in this environment. It's
And it's
just
the
going to
whole
create
idea. That's
chaos.
Earth School. How to learn
Yeah.
and break through samsara. That's what we're here to learn.
Break through samsara and you only really do it within and that's what I've always said too. Disclosure to me came from within. Like I saw a UFO in the 1990s. Was that disclosure? No, because I didn't recognize it. I was like, please stay away and never come back. I got to get a job and have a family. Like that's not disclosure. Disclosure is not seeing a craft coming at you and sitting in front of you. That's not disclosure because I didn't recognize it, number one. Number two, I probably, I tried to find it on shows looking for outside confirmation of what the hell it was. You can never have disclosure outside of yourself. Never look to somebody else's scientific evaluation of a situation and say, that's disclosure of UFOs. Disclosure came to me in 2022 when this voice said, hey, la 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 la. And you'll get confirmation of it as time goes on. Trust what I'm telling you. That's disclosure within, and it's personal to me and
Mhm.
my path.
It has to
Everybody needs to have their
filter through your
personal
own
disclosure.
being.
Yeah, yeah. Disclosure is always within. I never look to, outside things to guide me in the way of disclosure. Like, no.
Yeah, I actually did a video on, the real disclosure is within. People are waiting. When will we see disclosure to the public?
No.
When will government show the sleepers what's really going on? And,
Yeah.
it's like the real disclosure
Disclosure,
is within. It doesn't
it's
have to come from an
within, and
external
it's when you
source.
get a good idea and you follow through on it, and it brings you a level of freedom.
Yeah.
And then you do something else and it frees you a little bit more. And then some dude from Telos will be standing in front of you, and you're like, or wherever, right? Your unique path. Your unique path. not somebody else. This is what's happening. So, yeah. So the Tibetan Buddhists. Okay, so Tibetan Buddhists, this is a pure land. There are many thousands and thousands of pure lands, and they are some of them celestial out into space, right? We might call them evolved civilizations of aliens.
Yeah.
They call them pure lands. And you're going to have, and they acknowledge you're going to, this is from thousands of years ago. They acknowledge you're going to have a different form than this human, right? But one of these pure lands they acknowledge was is in inner earth called Shambala. And so the monks asked, Om Mani Padme Hum. Did you hear your husband saying that? Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum. That's like, please don't reify me back into samsara. I want to be in a pure land. Some people choose Shambhala for the inner earth. They pray to be rebirthed in Shambhala,
Mm.
where it's outside of the karmic drama of your current experience.
Mm. Again,
So that's Shambhala.
outsourcing that power to somebody else, because somebody else will decide if I incarnate there or, go to Shambhala.
Exactly. You decide. When
Exactly.
you recognize the clear light, then you're like, I know who the hell I am. I want to be rebirth here. I want to rebirth, I think it's called samskara. Everybody kind of wants to go to the Amitabha Pure Land, which is celestial. Amitabha, Amitabha. No, I know I'm going to like inner earth. I can
Learn the
feel that.
lesson and decide where you're going to go.
And that's the
You're
point,
not going
is
to take a
you
shortcut.
decide
You're
your
not going to
rebirth.
escape it, and nobody's going to give you a free ticket.
That's right. And that's exactly what the Tibetan Buddhists say, is you have to, in your death state, recognize the clear light. Then you say to yourself, cool, I want to go here. I want to go there. Or I don't want to be rebirthed anywhere, but you choose your choice. And so back to Maria Orsic. So in the 1800s, this is a very magical time in Earth history because it was a time of great innovation,
Yeah,
right?
people started
Oh,
waking up
yep.
just like we are now. But
They started waking up, and also they started to great inventions to make life better. The path was starting to be laid for locomotives. Well, locomotives are okay for about 30 or 40 years, and then you need to move them into spaceships so that you don't destroy the earth, right?
yeah,
So it's all bridging the mental gap
yeah,
to a spaceship society. But
yeah.
there's the mental aspect, though. There's this mental thing. So, but the inventions were just
Yeah, the
crazy, right?
airships, right? The Zeppelins or whatever they called them.
Yeah. There was several that the Germans were making, but they were using the plans from this Maria Orsic. So there was a lot of occult things occurring in the 1800s, early 1900s. Well, there was a group of occultists that were also very wealthy in Germany. I don't know that they were necessarily negative in the beginning,
Yeah,
right? This is pre-Nazi. We got to understand that there was a time that Germany did not have Nazism.
yeah.
It did not exist.
Hmm.
We're talking, you know, but they were wealthy and they were occultists and they knew that they could create amazing things. Just like Rockefeller, Carnegie, they were all using these spiritual principles to create wealth from,
Hmm.
their very poor status, many of them. So they were using these occultic things. And so they had heard that there was this very talented, this was before 1917, I believe, this very talented young girl named Maria Orsic. She's kind of meek and mild and gentle, just like many mediums are, right? They're very gentle, meek, and mild. And they asked her to be a part of this seance to connect in with this somebody from the past that had died, but was also very knowledgeable from a cultic perspective. And she was conveying information and talking about this new world that's coming and telling them all these things. And then either in that occult seance, I think after, she all of a sudden spontaneously, so that's how she was involved in the occultic elites of Germany. This was pre-Nazi, pre-Hitler. I don't even know that they were connected to Hitler at all. So
Mm.
there's none of that going on. But giving all this really interesting information, talking about the golden age and na na na, and they were very knowledgeable themselves. I think about Blavatsky's work,
Mm.
and they were very interested in the Aryan society. They're like, or this Aryan civilization. Aryan, Aryan, Aryan. Um, that's how they kind of got looped into that. And so she was kind of, but this is before Nazi. And again, I can't express this enough. The Aryan civilization has existed way before
Thousands of years
Hitler.
before, right?
And it has nothing to do with white, blonde-haired, blue-eyed people.
Yeah,
It has nothing to do with it.
yeah. In fact, they look
But
more Arabic
but
almost in a way.
samsara can come in and twist it, right? Living in samsara twists it. So she's channeling for them pre-Nazi, pre-Hitler, la 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 la. All of a sudden, she starts channeling information in a language, or no, she starts writing Old Germanic, and she starts writing it down, and then she writes directions on how to build a spaceship. She didn't know what she was doing. She had to bring it to a specialist to say, what does this say? And it told the history of Earth, and I think what you're talking about with the gold and the la la la, all that. And then it gave the directions to the spaceship. Well, she's like, I feel compelled to build this spaceship. She brought it to a scientist, Schumer. We know Schumer resonance. She brought it to Schumer first. She taught Schumer about Schumer resonance, right?
Schumann or Schumer?
Yeah, Schumer,
Schumann.
the Schumer resonance, yeah, whatever
Schumann
that
resonance.
from
Yeah.
Germany. And she brought the plans to him, and he's like, I brought it to somebody else, and he said, it looks like it might be possible we can build this, but don't say anything about it coming from aliens, from Andromeda, you know?
It was
And
from Andromeda that she got the information.
yeah. hmm And and so then she was like, well, I'm a medium. I don't charge money for mediumship services. And other than that, I think she taught ballet. Like she's like a kid,
Mm.
but she was working with other mediums as well. And so she ended up partnering with that other occult group that had money so that she could build the spaceship. Because they
Was-
were
Yeah.
that the occultic people she was giving seances with.
Was that called the Vril Society?
The Vril Society is her and the three other mediums,
Okay.
because together they could be a really powerful entity. I think the other group was called something the Golden something. I don't know, remember
Okay.
what. Anyway, um, so these were men, all men, wealthy, occultists, so they could fund the project without questioning the who, what, where, when, why. They could see it as possible, right? She could also kind of keep some of the information away from them, like sort of compartmentalize it so they couldn't build their own. But when they tried to first fly the first one, it completely fell apart. And they're like, oh, it doesn't work. So then she went back to the Andromedans and said, it totally fell apart. What's going on? They said, you have to fly it with your own consciousness. There's
Mm.
a stopgap on it. Only people with a certain vibration and good intention have the ability to work it
Mm-hmm.
in the way that it's intended with no energy, doesn't crash, all the things. So then they built a second one. And by this time, it was really rocking and rolling with the Nazis, and she got very nervous about working with these people anymore. And she had to hide the spaceship, and eventually she and the Vril, and I think they took people from Germany as well as Nagasaki, Japan, on kind of like a Noah's Ark, and took them away from not only the Berlin disaster that occurred, but also um, of course, the atomic bomb happening as well.
Hmm.
So that, but, and so she was see these occultists, these men had studied Tibetan Buddhism and knew about Shambhala, and they were trying to get to the Aryans in Inner Earth.
Mm.
Who are the Aryans? Well, the Aryans, the Hindus pulled that symbol, which means love and peace, from the Aryans because they're kind of part of that Aryan Shambhala situation. The Hindus mentally pulled it from the Aryans. The Aryans are not advanced because they're blonde hair, blue eyed. They're advanced because they're an inner earth civilization that has evolved and developed into that.
Mm.
So, what happened? So, this is what's interesting. And I'd like to know your take on it because I watched this podcast and they said, and so this podcast that this gentleman was talking about, I don't think he had all the inside information that I do about all this stuff. And he's like, yeah. And there's an off-world German world. There's an off-world,
Germany, yeah, like a off-world.
yeah. And they're having to partner with the reptilians. But he said this, he goes, but they kind of are acting like they got a raw deal because they can't stand the reptilians. So they thought that they were doing all these shenanigans with Nazi, thinking they were going to in alignment with the Aryan race. And they found out the Aryans banned them to their own world to be the dark side. They didn't know they were the dark side, right?
Mm-hmm.
They did not know. It's just like when I was studying archaeology, Egyptian archaeology, there was an Egyptian anthropologist, an archaeologist, and he found a site that showed that Black people were supreme in this particular era in Egypt. And he's like, that's not possible. Black people can't be leaders. And inadvertently, he threw out all of the artifacts
Oh, wow.
connected to showing that that was the case. Was he evil? No, he was just a product of
Ignorant.
his own time. He was a product of his era of
Mm.
believing something as a fact, whereas you're biased.
Mm.
Scientists are biased today.
Yeah. Well, everyone
Financial
is
experts are
biased.
biased today. They
I'm
just don't
fi
see their bias.
I'm finding it more and more. Everyone is biased, even a lot of people in the work community. They have this
Yeah,
filter
of
because they
course.
bought into this idea, and
Yeah.
there's nothing. They will not see that a decision that they're making there that is influenced by that bias is why,
Yeah.
and that's
They
no, but
think they're
this is the truth
open-minded.
because they have that bias. So
Yeah.
the trick to have an
Yeah.
open mind, it's not an easy thing because we all
No.
get married with ideas, it must be like this, oh, this is the ultimate truth. And the truth
Yeah.
is there's so many different layers, and sometimes
So
there
many
isn't even an
layers.
ultimate truth,
Yeah.
different versions of
There,
the truth.
everything is true. Everything is true. What do you want to align with?
Yeah,
Because samsara is about you birthing into your karma.
yeah,
And then your karma is in collective agreement with a particular civilization that you were born into, or your karma is that I hate the civilization so much, I just want to blow it up.
I want to
It's
get
both
out.
karma. one way or the other, but it's karma. You by default, you're coming in as a result of your karma. Therefore, you've got deep-seated biases.
Yeah. Yeah.
And even when you look at them, the Buddhists say acknowledgement is liberation. If you
Mm.
can see it, eventually you will be liberated. Your body will start moving you away from it. It might take time.
Mm.
Acknowledgement is liberation. I acknowledge I am birthed into here because of karma.
Mm.
Help me out.
And being able to be the neutral observer, you see this drama playing out, you see yourself being triggered by certain things, and you're like, but that's not the total me. It's just I can see it all play out. Now I see things clearly until you can make a different decision because you're now fully immersed as the neutral observer. You are
Yeah.
not this character with all its traumas and ancestral things and biases and karma and
Yeah.
all these things.
No, you're the clear light.
Yeah, it's just a
You're the clear
version of it
light.
playing out. You're in Earth School, attending Earth School,
Mhm.
looking to pass um,
To the clear light
samsara, the ultimate test of samsara. And
is clearing your own karma. You have to look at yourself. You have to look at yourself. So everything is true because that's the nature of samsara. It is true because you birthed it into here with your karma to believe that's true.
mm,
And then as a human, there's this opportunity to overcome that and rebirth better. But you don't have to wait till you're dead. You can go into the subtle body, recognize the clear light, and come back with really good solutions to help others. And part of that is dream yoga. You said your husband is a Buddhist. Is he familiar with dream yoga? Because that's part of Tibetan Buddhism, probably not a lot of part of the rest of Buddhism. But
he hasn't mentioned to me Dream Buddha, but then sometimes
yeah,
he
I
doesn't
think
mention
it's
to me things. He said, "Oh, you're not ready to hear that." It's like, okay.
well, dream yoga is very Tibetan Buddhism oriented, and it's very challenging for me. Not everybody. Some people it's very natural, but the Tibetan Buddhists, I believe all Buddhists, believe that it is an illusion to believe that there's this waking life and then the separation is the sleep time.
Mm,
And then there's another separation that's the death state. And then there's another separation that's the meditation state. They said it's all one. We're the ones who are separating it all.
mm,
We're the ones creating the drama of that. So for myself, I can speak for myself. I live my day and and then I go to bed typically for many, many years go to bed. I'm pretty much in a coma for 8 hours. Sometimes I remember dreams and they're very clear and I can write them down. I can remember them forever. Others are sort of like snatching. I have no idea. I don't care. I got to get up and get things going. For the most part, I spent most of my life going into a coma for 8 hours. Would you say that most people kind of do that? Either you have a hard time sleeping at night or you go into coma, right? Well, the Tibetan Buddhists are like, look, your real life is playing out in your sleep state.
yeah, that's when you can escape this little Earth game and go back and go everywhere.
Well, that's where a lot of times when you're in your not in control of your sleep state, it's kind of crazy town. Have you ever had dreams where you're like, oh yeah, well, I was here and then I was there and this guy showed up and he talked about this crazy thing and then I was in
Yeah,
a boat? You know, a lot of people's dreams are that,
yeah.
when you try to remember them, right? Mine are like that. And I was like, so I started, so as I was studying Tibetan Buddhism, because again, this is very connected to Shambhala, isn't
Mm,
it?
yeah.
We got to start connecting the dots, and it's connected to these occultists, and it's connected to um, Maria Orsic in kind of an indirect way, and to this guy that was speaking to me, gave me a little bit of information, not everything. And so I'm kind of putting the two and two together. Like he's talking about Shambhala and Telos, and then now the Tibetans are talking about dream yoga. And so for most people, including myself, as I'm trying to remember my dreams, I have to set an intention. I remember my dreams, and then it's like a shit show. Like my mother-in-law is
Makes
there,
no
and she,
sense.
yeah, it's like a lot of nonsense. So the Tibetan Buddhists say, okay, when you're not attached to your body, that's your subconscious mind really playing itself out.
Mm.
So take note, like set an intention. I will remember my dreams tonight. Write it down as soon as you wake up. Otherwise, you're going to forget it. Write it down and go like, oh my God. And then night after night after night, you look for patterns. What is my subconscious mind? What is my karma? What is the truth of my karma saying to me in my dreams? Then you start getting to a point where you become so good at it, you become lucid, meaning you create your own dream. You
Mhm.
immediately you crawl into bed, you go to sleep, you immediately wake up again in a dream. But guess what you can do? You can fly.
You
You
can be
can create
present in
a
that
forest.
dream.
Yeah. There's 20% of the population can do this without practicing. They just do it. The rest of us have to practice it. And so this is really important for the Pure Lands and Shambhala because you iron out all the junk of your subconscious mind, right? I am no longer going to go to bed and be comatose. I refuse. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know what I'm saying. I don't know who I'm with. I don't know what I'm doing with them because you're in a coma. Why are you in a coma? Same as the death state. You don't recognize yourself. So you block it out. It's so crazy. You block it out.
Mm.
Your brain protects you from the truth of what your subconscious mind is talking about, what the karma that you birthed into. It's too much, and your brain won't let you remember it in the morning. So you say, I'm taking control of this brain. I'm going to see what's going on. I'm going to face it. I'm going to talk to it. I'm going to say, what the hell are you doing here? What am I doing in the middle of la 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 doing XYZ that I'm not comfortable with? Right? And you face it and it disappears. But for your whole life, it's willing to just play, play, play. And then it appears in your waking life in a slower version that you can kind of filter, but you're still playing it out with your BS behaviors, i.e., samsara that we have today. Your world leaders are playing out their karma at the expense of your money and your safety right now. I can guarantee it. They don't know what's going on in their dreams and they're playing it out on you. And you're in the position, I don't mean you directly, the general public is like, this is my karma. I birth into a king. He can be called president, but I'm used to kings because I was birthed into a kingship. 50 other lives. I'm going to turn him into a king. And he's comfortable with that, right? And so your dream state, unless you're conscious of what's going on in your dreams, it's your subconscious mind running amok. Brrr. And your brain, instead of, it will allow you to see things you're comfortable with, and it will not allow you to see things you're not comfortable with, like really bad things that happened in a past life. It will block it out, just like it does in reality. Like when I said, if you fill in the gaps for yourself, it's got so much crazy going on, it gaps out everything and says, you're sleeping. So when you become lucid, you can face all of that subconscious mind directly, give it love, give it affection, but understand it's got to be in alignment now. And from now on, I create my dreams. I create your spirituality. You create your own reality. Not when you got a shit show going on in your dreams all night and then you're playing it out in the day again. Your sleep is your more true reality, and you can't overcome it in the daytime, no matter how many affirmations you do. You can't if you're blocking out your sleep state.
But how do you relate that then to astral traveling? Because a lot of people say they astral travel during sleep.
Sure, that's part of it. That's the part that allows you to see that. That's okay to see. That's
That's the
fine.
parts your soul is like, okay, she can see that, she can handle that.
Yeah. What about that part of you that is chopping off your husband's head? Is going to let you see that part in a past life?
But a lot of people see themselves
No.
flying and they can see the landscape and
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I've had that as well. Those are the dreams that I remember, like that's the important thing. That's what I'm coming to. So eventually you get to the point where you master your subconscious mind, and then you're in a lucid state, and you're like, I'm going to create a beautiful garden, and it's going to have these things in it. So this is great. And part of that is I'm going to fly. Part of the dreams that I've had have been in inner earth, where I'm wearing a military spacesuit. There's a dream behind the dream. There's your subconscious mind, and then there's a dream behind it that you can't see because you're not organized yet to see it. Sometimes you'll get a glimpse of it. But when you can control your dream day in and day out, do you think you could get to a pure land without having to drop this body? What's the difference? There is no physical reality. The physical reality you experience in your dream is just as physical as here to your mind. It's just as physical. You can just fly. You can create a castle. You can move into the castle. You can create a pure land now on the dream side. Neville Goddard, who is like a master, I don't know if you've heard of Neville Goddard. He's
Yes.
like a master of being able to vision. One time he went to bed at night, sleeping next to his wife. He woke up into another reality. It was a really nice reality. He was really there. He's like, oh my gosh, I don't think I can get back. I'm scared. My wife is going to wake up in the morning and find me dead because I've gone somewhere else. I don't know that he would have been dead, to be honest with you. You can live multidimensionally, multidimensionally.
Unless you contractually decided you wanted to die, then if not, you'll just come
And
back
he didn't.
into the body.
Yeah, he wanted to come back. He was figured it out. He's like, I got a daughter to raise. I got to come back. But there's no difference between this state and then being able to manage your dream state. Dream state is more like a pure land because you can control it more once you get a grasp on your subconscious mind.
Mm.
And then the death state is also a choice. Once you recognize the clear light, you move to the pure light anyway. You don't necessarily have to be birthed into it like a baby. Yeah.
So then, what would you recommend for people to do? How can they become more lucid and in their dreams and gain more control of that process and being
Yeah.
present?
Well, there is a process. It is a very specific process called dream yoga. Tibetan Buddhists kind of started it thousands of years ago, but science has made it much better. It's one of the areas where science has given great advice on making it better, but it is a process. For example, one of the things that I've been working on is I have been working on my fascia. Are you familiar with fascia in the body?
Mm. Yeah.
So I have fascia. When you work on your fascia here, and I had some injuries due to a car accident. But then when I started working on that, I remembered, oh my gosh, suddenly memories started coming in of trauma, of past situations that I just forgot.
Stored
So
in the fascia.
it's a lot of your consciousness and your past life trauma and your current life trauma is trapped in the fascia, and it has become like a hard rock.
Mm-hmm.
And I use a therapy called black block therapy. I'm releasing that I thought it was just for my car accident for my knee, but it's releasing everything. So Now that I am organizing my fascia in the wake state, my sleep state is more organized.
Hmm.
What? So, fascia, there's that. Work on your fascia.
Mm.
Clear it. It will clear the toxins out. It will clear your liver. It will clear your adrenal glands,
Mhm.
everything. Creates calm in your sympathetic nervous system. And then for dream yoga,
Well,
for
sorry, I just want to
dreaming,
mention my husband works on his fascia in Qigong and Tai Chi.
and
So,
I do qigong every
oh,
morning.
wow. Well,
I
that's,
do that every morning, and then
yeah,
I
that's
work
what
on
I
my
do.
fascia. So there's the daytime influences the night, and the night influences the day. And
Mm.
the good dreams that you have at night will influence your day. So eventually you'll start just living in the Pure Land, and you won't even
Mm.
have to see a change. You won't have to have the ta-da, I was moved to a planet next door. No. I mean, maybe that's what's happening, but
But
the
it's not
human
physical
being,
like that. You might just vibrate into a different reality
yeah,
instead of
it'll
going
be
to
a
a different
natural.
place.
Yeah. And you'll just naturally be attracted to other things that will free you. Econ it'll be things like, oh my gosh, I can't believe that was an opportunity for me to get out of my financial debt. It
Yeah,
was so simple. Everything will become that.
yeah.
You'll just naturally move into the Pure Land as a unique expression of humanity on surface now without having to wear a spacesuit. You don't
Hmm.
have.
So, would you
Uh-uh.
think that the Pure Land is actually what a lot of people talk about as New Earth?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's as long as when you're birthed into it, you do it as a choice. I choose this, right? Like the Tibetans say, and I'm free of the karma. What does it mean to be free of karma? Well, even if you are faced with a challenging experience, you look at it with equanimity.
Yes.
Oh, opportunity.
I get that. Thank
How
you.
can I? Yeah,
Past another
this is
test.
exciting. Instead of, oh, one more thing on me. How do
Oh,
I
they
need
did this
to?
to me. Why is that person doing this to me? It's like you've got to
Yeah,
realize nothing is by accident. What can you learn here through this situation? Be neutral. See yourself being triggered. Get that perspective. It's like, oh, now I see. Hmm,
that's exactly
triggered on
it.
that issue because I was working through that karma.
Yeah, you see everything as an opportunity. Like, oh,
Yeah.
interesting. I can use my skill set because I'm good. I've been benefited by this opportunity to create an improvement, and I know I have everything I need to move into that, and it's an exciting journey. Yeah, it's not, oh, I'm going to sit on a cloud and eat bonbons and not gain weight all day. Like,
You certainly know no spiritual bypassing. You got to look at it in the eye and say,
spiritual
okay, yeah.
bypassing. You know what is a product? What happens if you spiritually bypass too much? And this is, we know the demographic of people involved in this, and it's generally women, middle age. I mean, people that look like me, middle class.
And me.
They start changing so much that a lot of times they find themselves not connecting in with their spouses anymore. Like,
Hmm.
because the spouse doesn't keep up, right? And he's living well on. And they're like, oh, as long as I stay in alignment, the universe will always provide. Well, you have to use your noggin on that a little bit because they find themselves divorced and, oh, I didn't have to work and the kids are grown and now I'm at the grocery store, working a clerk job. And which there's nothing wrong with that. But, from their perspective, a lot of times they're like, oh, grocery store, they'll waken up on their own. They don't, and they're like, wow, I only get paid this much an hour. I can't really pay all my bills and I'm working like 10 hours a day. And, you know, that is a product of spiritual bypassing from my perspective, because you already bypassed the experiences of others going through samsara. This is important in Buddhism, having compassion for others. I listened to this one particular spiritual teacher, and this person has a huge following. And this person said, she channels, and she was walking her dog, and she came upon a gentleman that was homeless. And it's like, I talked to him, and he's so happy being homeless. He's free. And so we all have to understand that me and my group, upper middle class of a particular level, we're living just as happy with disposable income to pay membership each month. We're living exactly the same happiness life of this person that's homeless, as if samsara is not occurring, you know, that
Mm,
we're all in our little bubble of joy. So don't you work on your own personal trauma. Don't worry about his until they have to go to the grocery store and become the clerk that they used to buy from and
mm,
live on that salary from a man who divorced her because he found another woman that he's in alignment with, you know. And then it's suddenly, you know, it gets very real very quick,
mm,
right? It gets very real very quick. But there's a way to see that's my point is that when you use your noggin, you don't have to spiritually bypass anymore. Like, oh, the universe will take care of me. I'll figure it out. There are tools to where you can be financially stable, do well, but you have to put them in place. You have to have a plan. You have to use this spiritual downloads, same thing that Tesla used, same thing Maria Orsic used, same thing that this block therapy that I use for fascia work. They did not say, I have a fascia problem and I know the universe is going to take care of it. I just have to meditate and get into a whooshy zone. They got an idea for a block and to use it to break down fascia to help everybody, right?
mm.
So yeah,
I was like, oh, we don't need to look at our shadows. It's love and light, and let's focus on that. Yeah. Within
right.
that spiritual bypassing, you don't get to that level of equanimity where you can see the whole scenario play out.
Yeah, when you can see the equanimity of it, you can see a solution for yourself and say, you know what? I love my husband. Yeah, I have to kind of hide that I listen to channelers, right? A lot of them hide it from their friends. And I just do this in my car when I'm driving on a nice drive. And I don't tell anybody, right? Which is also kind of living a little bit of a lie.
Mm,
But when you use that equanimity, to your point, a solution comes. And that's one of the things that I'm kind of looking into helping people with.
mm,
Um, because there's things that have showed up since I've done the dream yoga that have always been there, but I didn't see them because I wasn't in resonance with it, right? So yeah, it's the fascia work, which releases the trauma, the dream work, which makes me face my crazy at night and gets me into lucid dreaming. And then all of a sudden, that the solutions from a lucid dream state start coming into the wake state.
mm.
And then they come in as if they've always been there. No, they haven't. They have not always been there. They appear only when you're ready.
Mm.
Yeah. And again, the whole meditative wishy state, I love that state because I can get into altered state and channel. I can get into altered state and I can, connect to people on the other side. But I can't make good decisions about finances in the wishy state. It's too out there.
Mm.
Yeah. And I think people kind of need to understand that, it's a
Yes,
difference.
your logical brain has a purpose after all.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you can tame it like a dog, you can use it as a tool.
Yeah,
But right now it's kind of using you as a tool.
yeah.
Like, unless I'm in my whooshy state, I'm in my brain state and it's like chaos. So I try to get into the whooshy state as much as I can.
Mm. Again, spiritual bypassing. Instead of
Spiritual
taking this
bypass.
wild horse and taming it and see what it can do for you. Because your mind is a wild horse. It just runs in all directions and thoughts and, it's like all over the place. You have no control over it.
No control over it. I'm a dog trainer. I've trained dogs many, many years. I love training dogs, especially the really aggressive ones. I was taught in a detention center.
Oh, wow.
Love working with energy on aggressive things.
Hmm.
And I would take, a pit bull, and I did do one pit bull where I felt like I could not get him into alignment
Mm.
because he would jump and try to bite my throat. And it was like, whoa, his
It's getting
jumping
a
thing
little
was
bit too
way too
challenging.
much. That was a scary one for me. But when you get them into alignment, pit bulls aren't that good. You just want them tame. But like German Shepherds and Malinois, I love my specialty.
Hmm.
Then you can get them to do amazing tricks. I used to have my German Shepherd go find my kids in the neighborhood.
They must get into the car. Go and find them. Bring them back.
I did do that at the
So
park
you
one
don't have to
time.
run after your
Somebody,
kids.
yeah, somebody had lost their dog, had run off down a trail. So I gave my dog this dog's leash so he could smell it. And I said, go find him. And he ran down the trail and he found him. And then because he's a German Shepherd, he was herding him until we could come and get him. Now, if I did not train my German Shepherd, who likes to work, he'd have been a nightmare in the house. He'd have torn the whole thing up,
Mm.
right? So, yeah,
That's the mind, what we need to do for the mind.
yeah, yeah,
My
yeah.
goodness, I can talk for another couple of hours as usual. But I have to
Crazy.
go and it's getting really dark in here because my
Yeah,
camera is attached to the light. So the fact that it's not working is now affecting the light in the room.
yeah.
So sorry,
It's
guys,
been
I'm looking a
experience, yeah.
very fuzzy and dark at this stage, but
Mhm.
the tech problems is,
I hope I answered a couple of the questions, though. I'm glad I didn't
yeah,
say
I
something.
think it was so fascinating. And I love the fact that sometimes we segue into other subjects. It's just like organically flows in different directions.
Yeah.
So we'll probably have to do another part because I feel like there's so much more we can chat about,
But
but
all the
perhaps
things
for
I
time.
talked about are things that we can do that will bring us to the Pure Land or inner earth. Inner earth is just a reflection of our inner self that's been trained and in control and can do very wonderful things. So hopefully it all kind of loop back for people, but
Yeah. Is there
it's a
anything you
no
want to
joke
leave
thing.
people with? And perhaps also anything that you're working on or things that you want to share before we end?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm working on, yeah. Um, I do readings so I can share people, share with
And I
people
just want to
the
say, Paula is lovely. She did a reading for me and I really enjoyed it and got so many insights. So
oh,
highly recommend it.
the bigger thing is a lot of times what I've been doing lately is doing readings for current and past lives that are stored in your body where you can free it with the fascia and some
Mm,
techniques with that. So I had a past life where I had an arrow in my back, and that appeared when I was trying to heal my leg, which was weird.
wow.
But so there's that. And then I'm also working on a way to become financially free. Like, not there's the clearing of the energies, but actually a tactical, practical method to make it happen. And if you're listening to this and it makes sense, then you're ready for it. But I would say most people are not. I mean, it's easy, it's effective, and it's quick, but it requires management of your mind and your habits.
Mm. And that takes discipline, doesn't it?
Takes discipline. Doesn't take money, doesn't take a lot of money, but it
Mm.
takes discipline and integrity. And there's no shortcut on that. Like you have to like just hit it and do it. So that is something that I'm
Exciting.
working on as a program right now to help people that don't make a lot of money, that do not make a lot of money, that they're in a situation where they're trying to take care of their mother, their intergenerational, or that you're trying to take care of your mother. You're also trying to help your kids get through school. It might be that middle-aged woman that feels that she's in the middle, but she's not making the money for a lot of disposable income.
And also
Get
for
out of
people,
that trap.
that are kind of feel that they're in survival mode. So there isn't any
Yep.
time to develop their mind or to develop
Yeah.
their gifts.
Yeah, they don't. Yeah, that's my point. Solve the first problem first,
Mm.
which is the money issue. But then you have to caveat it with saying, to keep you here or to even get you there, there's generational things you have to address at the same time.
Mm.
And I'll get you out of your money problem, but you gotta come to terms that you have not arrived to understand everything in the universe and be open to it, because they definitely aren't. This class of folks is not on like, oh, inner earth. Yeah, I'm down. Yeah,
It's
they
like,
don't
how
have
can I
that.
make money? Help me now.
Yeah, but that, see, now I'm getting back to the core of what I wanted to help with back in the 90s, why I went into political science in the first place. It was that group of people. So
Mm.
it's all coming full circle. It's just I had to have UFO, ET, I don't know how that came into play with it,
Experiences.
but it had to happen. Yeah, yeah. But this is very grounded work. But it plays in so much with past lives and generational wounds that they will not be able to sustain the magical money solution I have unless they clear that
Mm.
first.
I
Or
love the fact that it's practical. It's not some airy fairy. So now you know about your
no,
past lives, and then what?
yeah,
Like,
I
how's
know.
it going to help you now in this
It
life?
has to help you with the money, because money, I don't care what, again, this is spiritual bypassing. Money is just energy. It's energy that feeds you. It is right now.
We're in
But
this
once you
system, this
master it,
matrix, and we've got
yeah,
to, play the game. And
it's
unfortunately,
real. But when you look at it as a game, to your point, that you can win, even if you're a grocery store clerk, that's what I'm saying. I think most people are like, well, as long as you have about this much in disposable income, then we will. Well, no, those are wealth advisors that don't want anything to do with grocery store clerks.
mhm.
I keep
They don't
saying
waste their
grocery
time
store.
with, the little
They're
people. The
not.
ones that,
No, they're not. And they know that those people have
or according to them,
wealth
I'm not saying they're
problems
little people,
and
but they,
emotional problems and health problems, because they all go together.
mm,
So it's like, let's holistically do this. And I really want to help that class of people. A lot of, I think, women, and with the way the economy is going, are going to find themselves where they're going to be in that boat. But there's magic in it, because then you can get real freedom through it as well. So we'll see. But yeah, I got to start with the first folks first. So that's what I'm up to. Yeah.
wonderful. Well, I'll leave your website, your web address in
Yeah.
the in the video description. But what is it again, Paula Davis? No,
Yep, www.paulajdavis.com. And just sign up for the email. But this special thing that I'm working on to get anybody out of debt. I mean, it had to come from somewhere. It's so simple. It's so obvious. Yet, how come it couldn't have existed before this time? But it's been around forever. So,
very
yeah,
interesting.
sharing that, getting people out of debt, because you just can't feel free unless you can feel free in your debt, in your money, and then that, in your body too. You got to feel the freedom. It's all one thing. It's
Yeah,
not
when
separate.
your root chakra can rest easy, then you can
Yeah.
start. You know,
You can release that fascia. It releases the toxins. It releases the trauma. Then you can go deeper and go, oh, I had a past life. It just came to me in a dream that I'm willing to address. Yeah, it's all one thing.
all part of the journey.
The journey. It's exciting, but
So
it's,
exciting.
no, we'll see.
It is
Thank you as
exciting. It's an
always.
exciting time to be alive during this shift, isn't it?
Oh my gosh, it's really such an opportunity. It's really a great opportunity. And I'm just so excited about what's coming along with it. And I'm so excited that you're doing what you're doing, and you're such a hard worker, and you're an action taker, and you're practical. I really
You're
appreciate
right.
that about you.
Uh,
Yeah. I need to learn some things from you, definitely.
well, we'll chat some more for sure. I always love our chats, so definitely won't wait that long again before connecting.
Have a great evening and good luck with everything. And please share with me all that you're up to. I'm so excited if you get a chance, but I know you're a busy, busy girl. So
No, we'll
bless.
definitely set something up. But yeah, I hope everyone enjoyed that and found something helpful that kind of stretches their mind a little bit. I know I did. So thank you so much
And
for
that's
sharing.
the Adams calendar that you're talking
Yes.
about. It just happened.
Yeah, I'm good.
And you
Well,
want to do it again.
yeah, I was there 2 months ago. So on Friday, just a few days from now, I'm up there with a group of people that felt the call, and we're doing a retreat there with plenty of activations and meditations, healing, and grid work because it's such a beautifully diverse place. So I'll definitely report back on that, but I'm looking forward to a transformative experience. Yeah, for sure.
Yay. I'm so excited for you. And I would love to join in one of the endeavors at some point.
As soon as we can sort out the transport system, go back to, I don't know, megaliths or portal travel, we can get from
Yes.
one side to the globe to the other side in no time.
Yes. In our Merkabas.
Yeah, that too.
Blessing.
Fantastic.
Thank you
Well,
so
thank you
much.
so much, Paula. Really appreciate it, and chat to
Thank
everyone
you.
soon.
Talk to you
Bye.
soon. Bye-bye.